Hello and welcome to this election special episode of Media Dialogues with Storyboard18. I am Delshad Irani, and today I have with me in the studio a power-packed panel to decode the media strategies of top advertisers and glean insights from their winning campaigns in what promises to be a blockbuster season. We have with us Ajay Dang, who is the President and Head of Marketing at Ultratech Cement. We have Gaurav Ramdev, Chief Marketing Officer of Protean eGov Technologies, Mohit Joshi, CEO of Havas Media Group India, and we also have with us in the studio Network 18's consulting editor, Rahul Shivshankar. Hello, it's a pleasure to have you all here, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. And Rahul, straight off the bat, I'm going to come to you. And this is not, I'm not going to get straight into the main point of this conversation, but I really want to ask you this. You know, for us Indians, our heart beats as much for cricket as it does for politics, right? And there isn't a bigger thing than elections in the country. So just sum it up for us, sum up the feeling for us. You know, what the magnitude of the event, the impact of the event, and give us the view from the newsroom.
Yeah, so there are two IPLs, you know. There's the Indian Political League and, of course, the Premier League, the Cricket League. This is the greatest show on earth. I mean, you know, 1 billion people almost come out and they vote and they elect a government that is going to determine 1/8 of humanity's destiny for 5 years. I don't see that anywhere in the world on the scale that it sort of manifests itself here. It's the greatest affirmation of the power of one vote, and that counts. And it is counting in ways that have made India today one of the world's leading democracies. I mean, so much so that over the last few years, we've even changed our complete approach towards how we view ourselves. Now we call ourselves the mother of democracy. It used to be America that used to lay claim to that, but have you seen the shambles that they're in? Look, there will be people, obviously, who will talk a little bit about the other side, you know, the not so rosy side, the side that seems to suggest that the vote and election doesn't count anymore. There are political arrests going on. There are, of course, unfortunate events that come together which seem to suggest that one side has become much more overbearing than the other, that there's no level playing field. But just set the rhetoric aside and focus on one figure, and that's the 70% plus electoral turnout. That doesn't happen in democracies that are functional. We've just seen an election in a country where very few people showed out to vote, and I'm talking about Russia. Before that, another country which was thought to have overtaken India economically a few years ago, Bangladesh, for example, they had a sub 50% voter turnout. In fact, it was 35 or 38%, if I haven't got that wrong, subject to, of course, a quick hard fact correction. But I think it was somewhere in that high 30s. And that tells you that there was really no faith. I mean, Pakistan also, the turnout was so low. Of course, that's a dysfunctional basket case. I'm not trying to equate India with that. But I'm just suggesting where people are really cynical with democracy, they just don't show up to vote. In fact, in urban India today, those numbers that used to be once at around 48, 40, 50%. Bombay always used to get this sort of shtick for not going out there and voting. Today, even in Bombay, you have 60% plus engagement, which tells you that people really think that their vote has a determining influence on our destiny. Why would so many people be showing up? So this is a massive party. It's a festival. Some people call it the dance of democracy. Well, that's maybe a shibboleth, but it is certainly an upsurge of democracy in one massive corner of the earth, and the world notices.
Absolutely. And you, Ajay, you heard that, right? So you have the Indian Premier League, and then you have the Indian Political League. It doesn't get bigger than this. Now, tell me from an advertiser's point of view, you heard some of the numbers that Rahul shared as well. And of course, we are all watching this as well as participating in it. From an advertiser's point of view, tell me how you view this election season.
So
What is the crux of your, marketing strategy, the objective, your media plan?
So we come from an industry which is very, very deep rooted into India's development. And to an extent, I agree with Rahul that it's a conversation about the future course of the country, about the development of the country. We are a very large consumer-driven company, about 70% directly talking to consumers, about half of that coming from rural. There, the developmental conversation is very, very focused, and people are resetting their ambition, people are resetting their aspiration. We are a very young country. And to participate in that, so one piece is just looking at it as advertisers. We believe that Ultratech and the role that we play is into the development of the country, right? It's a strong enabler in terms of resetting the human bottleneck of human potential. If that's the piece that we go for, I think we are active participants in the discussion. And I think, like you said, where we are obviously, as marketers, we are obviously hunters for attention. So we are harvesting where the attention is, and rightly so, on the future of India.
Gaurav, it's interesting because, with Protean, you're perhaps a little fresh to the election season in many ways, recently listed. Tell me how you are viewing how are you calibrating your media strategy?
Sure.
It is the biggest, perhaps, televised event as well,
Yes.
the elections.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking? Where are you putting your money?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Rahul puts it as two IPLs. It should be two. I mean, I would not compare them, but if I have to talk from a marketer's point of view, marketer's vantage point, I think it's important to understand cultural context in India, and in Indians' cultural context, I think these 5 passion points really matter: cricket, politics, religion. Bollywood, and the 5th, which comes once in 5 years, which is the election. So
in that order?
Not at all, not at all. So if I look at as an opportunity from a marketer's perspective, this would be one of those mega years where you have not one but 2 opportunities to impact stummers, create an impact property that lingers on, the opportunity to create slightly long format campaigns rather than just short-term, medium-term impact campaigns. So as a marketer, there are several opportunities to harvest, like Ajay said. From a Protean standpoint, I think it was a difficult choice. It was a difficult choice for us to make on what would be the right place to advertise and go after, because we are a young brand and we want to create a larger impact. While I can't share the details, but we are still evaluating on how we can activate elections, which is going to be a three-month time period, and do it the right way. As I often tell my teams, I think while strategy always is great to have, I think execution matters in these large mega events that happen. Because if you get the execution right, then I think it makes for continues to give back for a very long time. So we are right now in conversations to have an execution in place, which matters, and we are seeing this as an opportunity that we can harvest.
Absolutely. Mohit, of course, you have this sort of wide view across the spectrum of advertisers. Tell me, in terms of, say, the returns on investments, especially with the election season, coinciding, of course, with the IPL, what is the sense that you're getting from your clients and advertisers in terms of where they see most potential when it comes to media vehicles?
So it's a very good situation to be in, where you have 2 very big properties that you can ride on. 2 IPLs, as Rahul very relevant.
That's going to stick. That's going to stick. Yeah.
And in my view, what happens is every client wants to be on IPL, but they don't have the kind of budgets that are required to have a good presence there. Now with elections also happening alongside, the eyeballs are going to be split. but there is a very good opportunity in the elections for those clients who are not able to ride on IPL. So in my view, it's it's the best of both worlds. And I have been seeing with my clients and many other clients that I have been evaluating, that they have either put their monies behind IPL or behind election, and some of them who can afford it, behind both of them. Because both converge audiences, and they are pretty big, I would say, reach environments in themselves. So in my view, as an advertising agency professional, I'm very happy that I have two opportunities instead of one to get my clients in the quarter one. The other important thing is that from a return on investment perspective, IPL has always delivered. In spite of the fact that it has very high CPTs and the rates are high, but in the last so many years, whenever a client has used IPL for either launch or sustenance, it has always worked from a brand equity parameters perspective. So I've never seen a client fail on IPL. At the same time, elections is something that will drive viewership for sure. And if you are on elections, the viewership is guaranteed. So I think both of them are equally good in their own rights.
There's one elephant in the room we've forgotten.
Tell me.
So in the Indian political league, guess what are the biggest brands? Any guesses here?
The parties.
The political parties. And what are they doing? They're in the ad game too.
Yeah.
So he talks about how in the cricket IPL, a client always gets return on investment. One of the biggest advertisers for media entities, like, for example, news channels, are also, of course, political parties. And they also get return on investment.